Hello, this is Vance, and this is, well, actually, it's Tuesday, September the 9th, 2014. This is the recap from yesterday. This is the third time I've done this, and I've been having some trouble with Camtasia, and it was okay yesterday morning when I did the pre-market, but when I went to do the update in the evening, I didn't have any audio for some reason, and so I had to reboot this whole system after I did the audio. Tried it, didn't work again, and now I'm rebooting the system again. So I think I got to figure it out now. So now I'm doing this. I apologize for this. It's late, and I don't want to do this too many times. Anyway, let me go run through this very quickly. It's 8 o'clock this morning. I want to do the recap as well. So let me do this update first to make sure that this works. I'm going to do this very quickly to try to hit the high points. I talked yesterday about the pre-market. There's a sell-off that we had from last night. The overnight high last night was 93.62. It was up here. And we had this overnight sell-off. This was this is early in the morning. So this is like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Now, I was talking about, when I came on, I was talking about this area down here, like market was kind of declining at this point in time. But I should address this one. This is a second entry short right here. Price makes new low, first entry, second entry. There's this overlap, and it's off of these tops. The top of this trading range is probably around here somewhere. Maybe not enough room to get out, but it's a pretty strong rejection bar. But the overlap is bother. And as a result, when you look at your stop, the only way you can get into this trade is if you limit it in right at the bottoms here. And I wasn't really comfortable with that. So just something to note. And the reason these bars paint up really quickly, up, down, back up, and then failure. So you can see this is a first entry failure, or this is a first attempt to go higher. This is a fail. Second attempt, and then immediate failure, and this is a little bit lower, but this overlap was a concern. Price came back, another pulled back, a bit of a trap here. And again, I didn't mark this one. If you're an aggressive trader, you might have taken this one on the basis that maybe price is going to continue to head down because of the strong sell-off in the overnight. But these pullbacks were pretty deep, and it's almost like turning into reversal, because even though this is a strong bar, this is a second entry long right here. Price makes a new high, first entry pulls back, second entry long near the bottom of this tight trading range. It's within the channel. It hasn't really tested. It hasn't broken through the EMA. So this is a second entry long, which failed. It turned out to be a failed second entry long, so a second entry short. But it's really at the bottom. So I just wanted to address that. Not that I was thinking that this was a val trade. It was 8:30. We're just before the open. I was waiting. That's why I was talking about waiting for the open to see how that was going to transpire. Because if it doesn't work out, if you're getting into here, your stop is more than 15 ticks, and at the time, had you not gotten into this trade, it would have came off pretty quickly, but you don't know that. You don't know that ahead of time. So that's why I was a little bit skeptical about this trade, and why I didn't really discuss it yesterday morning in the pre-market. Price comes down to this area. Then we have the first pullback. You see the first pullback here fails. A second pullback. Go higher, and then a really decent bar there. It's almost like a second entry short. This is lower than this one, but you can see there's a pullback here, fails. Second, so you can see the first entry, second entry short. Took a little while to work out. It's kind of at the top of this range. There's some capitulation here. Maybe another push off of this one. Looking at if this is a push down from here. We pull back. This is the first move down, and then maybe this would be the second move down to here someplace. There is some room to get out. Near the bottoms, just barely. So there was some reason to take that trade, but I felt it was still aggressive because, price looked like it's starting to capitulate around here. We did have this move down, pulls back, and it's really right near the open. So that's the other issue. This is a second entry short. Definitely a second entry short. So price pulls back, fails, second entry short right here. Now, it's a doji, and you have, there's a little bit, but it's really strong selling here. And again, if you're looking at getting short, where would you get short? Well, if you could limit in and have your your stop above this most recent bar was the best position. It doesn't afford you all that room to get out to the bottom, but there's enough of a cushion there that if you run into trouble, you could perhaps close the trade. And it did have this final push down. So you may think that there's a, this is on a larger time frame, or a larger time frame. You can see that this was a one unbroken pullback here, failure, and then a pullback to this area, and then a failure. It didn't make a new high. You might want to look for a new high, but that's why I marked this one in green. I think it was worth taking in that respect. Price fails off, 15 ticks, and now we go into this really tight trading range. Tight trading ranges like this is the bottom of the channels really are like, you have to really think that now we're in a reversal, considering that we had this fairly significant move overnight. What's a significant move? 150 to 200 ticks. If we have a move of that nature, you may have some pullback. There have been evidences in some cases where you have like 300-400 tick moves, and we had one that was like almost $3 just a few weeks ago. But that's not very often. I mean, to my mind, it's usually about 1.5. I mean, a good solid move as far as a trend in the CLs is anywhere from $1.50 to $2, or like 150 to 200 ticks. Getting up to that, it really kind of runs out of steam. It doesn't really typically move past, I mean, especially in the regular trading hours. But it's not unprecedented we have it more than that. So when you look at it, 150 to 200 ticks, that's a pretty healthy move as far as during the day. Now, it can go farther than that. But generally speaking, if you see a move like this one, which is, this is a fairly significant move, you see this capitulation. The other issue is that down at this level, and I talked about it yesterday, that we're close to the low at 92, 92.15, 92, this area here, and it went a little bit lower, but then we capitulated again. And if you look at the daily, let me just pull that up for a second. Here's the daily chart. I've been talking about this last little while. Here's the daily chart, and if you look at, let's pull this down here. This was yesterday. You can see this line right here yesterday. Price moved down and moved back up, but this is the, you can see that this was the area that I was saying that this is going to be some area of like some resistance. There's reaction to this area over the last number of months. And when price got down here, you can see it's touched this bottom, pulled back, touched the bottom again, pulled back, pushed the bottom. We're still in this, kind of like in this trading range here, but we're also at the end of an exhaustion point. And the exhaustion point I'm saying is that you pull back down to here, we pull back to here, and so we're close to this exhaustion line as well. Whether or not we're going to have this turnaround, you can see that, let me just make this a little bigger. You can see that over the last few sessions, if you move this, prices traded down here, couldn't stay, pulled back, traded down here again, and we had this fairly large pullback here, and now we're at 93. So it got to a low of 91.79, but 91.79 is when you go back to the last time it was at that level, we're talking about the beginning of the year. I think it was like end of number of months ago. So it's right here. So you can see price moved its way up. It's come back down over the last few months, and now it's hitting some resistance here. Anyway, that's just so I was just saying that this area here corresponds to that really deep pullback area that we experienced on that chart. So you're thinking, how much further is it going to really continue to go down? When a price goes into this capitulation here, very tight trading range, less than 15 ticks, I mean, the rules are that when price gets down to this level, if you look for the opportunity to limit in, and how long do you limit in for? Think of it, 30 to 40 minutes is enough time for a market to even turn around. And from here, we're talking about 9:15 to here, we're looking at almost 10 o'clock. So we're looking at about 45 minutes in this area here. So if price isn't continuing on down and out, looking at limiting in near these bottoms was a trade to really take. Now, it's a more aggressive trade. I'm not taking anything away from that. But at the same time, if these are the tops here, you want to get in low enough so that at least you have some room. Now, had you bought in near these bottoms and held through this, it eventually worked its way up higher. But to sit through that trade to where price is bouncing around like this and creating all this overlap is a difficult thing. So there's a couple of second entry longs here. Price makes a new high. Here's the first entry. Here's a second entry long right here, but it's still within this channel. We have rejection of these long tails. Price moves up to here, pulls back, deep. First pullback, second pullback. So we had 2 pullbacks to this area. So maybe limiting in here would have been an option. And we have price makes a new high, first entry, and this is the second entry long here, but it's off of a doji. So all these setups, if you're looking long, and you have to be thinking long. If you're thinking short, there are shorts here as well. But the problem with the shorts are, again, we've got this long extension move down here, and I'm thinking whether or not it's going to continue on down. I wasn't convinced. Once price breaks through here, and when you have this breakout on this upside, I marked this in purple because this area here is one of, like you see, 2 pullbacks to this kind of this trend channel to the EMA. The EMA is flat here, but it doesn't really look like it's really got a lot of purchase at this point in time. Now, you could have taken this trade on a second entry short. It's aggressive, room to get out to these tops. But, again, you've got this overlap, and it's really non-committal. Now, you could say that this is the first move up. You have the first pullback, second pullback, and you may be looking for something like this. But by this time the bar closes, okay, you're here. You do have room to get out. I mean, I wasn't really keen on this trade. I wasn't keen on it because of the fact that I wasn't sure where this top was, especially when you're looking at to the left side of the chart. Is it going to test this area? Price came up here, it failed, it came up again and failed, and so it just was, to my mind, it just wasn't enough room, and particularly how it was responding. Price came back down here, it closed on a very strong bear bar, it pulled back again, wasn't so strong a bar. Now, if you would have got in on this trade and you're down here, and let's say that you couldn't get in, once the price went up here and it pulled back these 2 times to this area, you probably would have closed out this trade. There's just too much overlap. It does come back down. If you held through it, there's another opportunity to get back in. But if you took the heat, it eventually worked its way out. And it worked its way out right here. But we're looking at, when it did finally work out, this is 10:19. This is half an hour later. 30 minutes later, it worked its way out. And to hold through all this, when price is like gyrating where it could easily come back down and test this area again, I don't know, you probably would have scratched this trade. At least I would have certainly done that. More likely, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would have likely scratched this trade because of this overlap here. Price pulls back down. This is a second entry long. Now, if you get on this trade down here, and you can get in like below these ones here, it'd be a lot more comfortable trade for me from that standpoint. It does create this. It's a second entry long. We might be testing these areas. It doesn't afford you just barely enough room to get out, so you might get a punch out, like you might just go up a little bit more. So this is a little bit more, this is a little better trade from that perspective. But again, a more aggressive trade. We have these 2 pullbacks. First pullback, second pullback, second entry long here. This is a better trade, still aggressive. I mean, you can get in on a stop limit order, and your stop is going to be below this area right here. So that was a bonus. This is a better trade. Had you get in this trade, it really kind of broke through this top area and started moving its way up. And by the time you get to this area here, you're thinking, well, you know, we may have some retracement up to here or retracement even further. Now, this area, again, 2 pullbacks back. This bar closes. You might be able to limit in. I'm thinking that you're going to retest this area. It hits a wall. It kind of stalls. First pullback, second pullback. Yes, it can limit. Now, let me just extend this. Bit of a channel down here. I've got it marked in a channel. You got these moves down here. So to buy in at this area, could. It's really like, you know, first pullback, second pullback. Again, if you take this trade, I mean, it's all right set up. We're at the bottom here, but you've got this overlap. So really the only decent place to take the trade is here. And by the time you get to this area, you've got room to get out. You could have taken that trade. It wouldn't have worked out. It's not a bad setup, though. I should mark it. I'm not going to mark it because it failed, didn't work out. Because by the time, what you're looking at is that this trade went up here. I mean, depending where you got in. If you got in right here, but I didn't like this because it was right off this doji. I mean, you can get in on a doji down here. But when I went into this overlap, that's what I didn't like about this trade. It was this doji after this really strong move. I mean, I'm still thinking that we could test down this bottom. It could come back and test down here. And with a 15-tick stop, there's really not a lot of room here. This isn't so great as well. This pulls back, fails, pulls back here. Now, I marked this one in green. And it's a better bar. It's a more of a bullish bar. It is a second entry long. Again, we've got these double tops. Now we've got these double bottoms corresponding with these double tops here. And so what is formerly resistance is now support. So more along the lines of this line right here is more of the line because we're close to these tops here. We've got this area where it's touching, this area, and now we had a touch here, another touch here, and anytime you get in down in these areas, your stop box is limited below where I think this market is going to see. So we're below this one, we're below here. So a little bit more comforting, especially on this one, because you have your stop is down lower. Now, had you taken this trade, you had to wait through all this stuff. And again, if it overlaps like this, I'd be closing this. I'd probably be closing this out because even I've got this move down here, but it's not really a strong trend down. You can see these pulls back, and so there's really capitulation in here of price going any lower. Breakout pullback at this area, I didn't really mark it. It might not be as obvious, and we're really within this zone. But once price breaks through the top of this channel, now you said that you get the first pullback, second pullback, and I think this is more support. So it's more supportive. So I think it's a better opportunity to get in here. What is this? It's kind of crooked. It's more like this. And more support to head up here. But this is right at this is really late in the day. This is like 20 minutes after 2. This is like 2:30, and then it starts moving up. So anyways, it was a little challenging day. Challenging from the perspective is that, especially down in this area, I was looking more for longs than anything else because of the fact, probably the overriding factor was that we're at those below those lows that we had on the for the last number of months. And that's probably the only reason I was looking long from these areas. But to get in here, it was a challenge. Anyways, that's it for now. I know it was 17 minutes, so I'll get this uploaded. Maybe get a chance to take a look at it for the pre-market, but I'll do the pre-market very quickly right after this and see how that works out. Anyways, I apologize for this. I think I've got it working now, the Camtasia, and so I'll be more. I'll have an update later on this evening. Thanks for your time. Bye for now.